Hello and welcome to my first ever book review. Well, it's a novel review really. I've done reviews of codexes and things like that before, but this is my first video where I've just talked about a novel, and because it's my first time I'm going to try and avoid any spoilers, but if you don't want to spoil the book at all, please just go watch one of my other videos. And this book will set you back 318 pages. It's not a hugely long book, and I feel that length is just about right to cover all of the stories within this novel. So on with the review. If you don't already know, I post a lot of Warhammer 40,000 content and things on the channel, everything from news to reviews, unboxings, you name it. I try and cover as many things as I can. I do like the backstory and the fluff, as it's called, and I love all of the novels. I like the science fiction, the universe that this 41st millennium is set in. I've got quite a few books, just a small selection there. I might do reviews of other books and things in the future if people enjoy this video. So let's talk about this novel in particular. So this is Dark Imperium by Guy Haley. I finished it a couple of weeks ago. It coincided with the Dark Imperium box set, and the Dark Imperium box set by Games Workshop was the new 40k 8th edition sort of box set. Is it a starter set? Yeah, I'll probably say it's a starter set. I mean, it's got the rule book, it's got dice, it's got models that are straightforward to build and all the rest of it. So that set was called Dark Imperium. This novel obviously tied in with it. It will set you back £18. It's only available in hardback at the moment, and I think usually all 40k novels, I think this one is, yeah, this Warlord one that I read was £18. I think that's about the norm. Some of the Horus Heresy ones are £18 too. That's the norm at the moment, these hardback novels. I'm not a huge fan of hardback novels at all. I'd much rather have softback. I mean, they're a pleasure to read, of course, but there's no real reason why you need the pages to be open, sort of like that, and stay open like that. Softback, you're still going to get the same story. I think codexes, though, and reference books and things, there's a huge need for them to be in hardback. But novels, I would have quite happily bought this novel for £5 in softback. I really would. Likewise with Warlord as well. When you've got a sort of 260 page book, I think the Knight book as well was didn't have a huge amount of pages, but when you got sort of 200 odd pages, there's no real need for it to be in hardback unless you really love hardbacks and you really love how they look on a bookshelf. But I've got a mixture of hardbacks and softbacks. I think this is coming out in softback at some point. Might be towards the end of the year or maybe even next year. But it seems that Black Library and Games Workshop have this huge push on selling hardback novels at sort of £18 a pop, which is fine. But you see, £18 in one book, someone's just going to buy one book every sort of few months, rather than before where people would buy 2 or 3 or 4 softback books within a month that would be of a sort of similar price, and that way they would have got 4 completely separate stories from possibly 4 different authors, 4 different settings, which might have encouraged them to collect a different army or to collect a different chapter of Space Marines. You just don't know the repercussions that reading sort of 4 novels might have compared to only reading 1. Anyway, I do ramble a fair bit. Let's get on to this book. I really enjoyed this book. Without going into spoilers, it's sort of set towards the end of the Indomitus Crusade, I think it is, where it's been 100 years since Rabute Guilliman is awakened and things, and it's towards the end of that crusade where he's with these new Primaris Space Marines, and they've pretty much helped retake certain areas of the galaxy where this huge rip in the fabric of real space has happened. Basically, when Cadia fell, there was this big rip in real space, and there was a lot more activity from Chaos forces. You know, everything from Abaddon to Death Guard and Word Bearers and so on. It's great because the first sort of start of the book, without spoiling things, sort of covers the backstory of Rubute Gilliman and his battle with Fulgrim, and covers how he was wounded and all the rest of it. It goes into some great detail there. And for a while, it reads like a Horus Heresy novel. The way Guy describes what's going on, and with the space battles in particular, excellent. Then it moves to present day, and it moves to them trying to destroy a device from Nurgle. It's very descriptive in Gilliman, and from his perspective, the state in which the galaxy is at the moment, and his sort of thoughts on it, and trying to get to grips on the past sort of 10,000 years history. Guy's very descriptive of that. And it also describes some of the new units and things. So if you'd have read this about a month ago, you probably wouldn't have known about the Overlord Flyer, the Aggressors, and the Redemptor Dreadnought, things like that. It briefly touches on a Redemptor Dreadnought. It covers the Reavers, it covers the Aggressors, it covers the Overlord, which is this flyer. They're a huge flyer. I mean, it's fair to say the Thunderhawk is a huge flyer, but the Overlord is bigger. It makes the Thunderhawks look like toys. It's a sort of dropship type transport, similar to the Black Star, where it has two, loading bays or transport bays, but it has some very beefy melter weapons and las cannon weapons, and it can carry 40 Primaris Marines or whatnot, which obviously is more than the Thunderhawk. I don't know whether we'll get a model for that. I mean, we've had a model for the Stormbird, which carries 50. So if we do get a model, I do wonder if Forge World are going to step up. I mean, they're already stepping up with 40k, with their 40k character series. I think they'll continue with that, and I think they'll bring out more 40k characters as times go on. And I think that they'll branch out into more 40k vehicles, and maybe you'll see an Overlord from them. But I'm not 100% convinced that you'll ever see an Overlord, based on the fact that it's bigger than a Thunderhawk. Anyway, so yeah, back to the novel. It covers a couple of space battles. It covers the sort of events leading up to Gilliman's injury and being put in stasis, and then it covers the aftermath of that in a few flashback sort of memories. It doesn't go into too many details with his discussions with the Emperor at all, but it does highlight how difficult Gilliman has found it to adjust to the 41st millennium, where the Emperor, his father, is really worshipped like a god, and his own internal struggles of trying to get to grips with that, and to also get to grips at the state of the galaxy and the Imperium. It introduces the Custodians a little bit as well, and the Sisters of Silence. And really it's about Gilliman being the Imperial Regent, the Avenging Sun, coming back to this, to the Imperium, and trying to go about to set things in the right direction again. He doesn't completely ignore the fact that most, if not all, the population worship the Emperor as a god. He is starting to see the benefits and use that to sort of his advantage. There's a great piece in it that pays homage to the Death Guard forces and Nurgle. I found that section very descriptive, and I was actually expecting more of that towards the middle sort of end of the book, but that never arrived. So hopefully in a sequel, if Guy's given the opportunity to do that, then they'll make a return. I'd definitely be interested to read more about the Nurgle sort of side of the forces. Yes, Mortarion is featured slightly in here, but also the end of the book sort of does set it up for a sequel or another novel in the series. So the focus is mainly on Gilliman, which is great, and it's also on the Primaris Space Marines in the form of the first captain in Gravis armour, called Felix. And it also covers Marneus Calgar in this very sort of odd skirmish that Marneus has taken up on himself to sort of get involved in and use as an example. But you really see Guilliman starting to make decisions about his new Primaris Space Marines, this new flush of like 100,000 of them or so, and how he wants them to control different parts of the Ultramar sector. I think they're called Tetrarchs in the book. So he not only wants these Space Marines and these new Primaris Marines to reconquer any sort of lost worlds and planets that Chaos have corrupted or have infiltrated, but he wants them then to establish themselves as sort of statesmen. It follows Felix's sort of internal struggle too, of how, I mean, I know he's only been sort of fighting for 100 years or so, but it follows his internal struggles as how he can think how he would be able to be a good statesman, because, you know, war is all he's known, and that's what he's good at, and it's difficult for him to get adjusted to that kind of role. Is that what Space Marines are for? Are they built for a singular purpose? It raises a question of the Emperor building the Primarchs as his generals for a singular purpose. But that's Guilliman's sort of directive. He wants to do that with the Marines. Not so much the Primaris, but also the older models of Space Marines too. Before he fragmented the Ultramar sector into pieces, it's about him coming to terms with his mistakes of the past, which I suppose is difficult for a Primarch, someone that in the 41st millennium people look up to and think of as a god as well, like a living god almost, like a demigod. For him to acknowledge his own mistakes and to explain how at the time he thought that was the right thing to do, but now he can see that what he did was just make sectors weaker. So in summary, if you did buy the Dark Imperium box set, or even if you still contemplating whether to buy it, but you're still unsure about Primaris Space Marines, you're still unsure about where we are in the 41st millennium, this is really an excellent go-to book to introduce you back into the sort of present timeline, the present day, what's going on, where the whole Imperium stands right now. I'm really looking forward to more books set in this sort of era when all these extra battles and things are going on. I think Guy has done an incredible job describing the battles, things going on, the Space Marines, the armour, the weapons. I also think he's done an absolutely stunning job describing the Death Guard forces too. Very descriptive, very thought-provoking and illustrative in all of the words and descriptions that he uses. So yeah, I fully recommend this book. Gives you more of an insight into Guilliman and where the 41st millennium is at present. If you have enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, please do comment, rate and subscribe. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor Protects.